Welcome to another episode of Til'ton the Scales. Thanks for joining us. Here are your hosts Walter Hall, Chet Bowen, and Nathan Logan, joined by friend of the show Jose Battle. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like and share content on social media.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Til'ton the Scales. I hope everybody had a good week. Jose is joining us, friend of the show. Jose Battle is back for another edition. Hopefully, we can keep him on a regular basis. He always brings some good takes and some good insight on everything from fatherhood, being a grandfather, and life experience in general. And he's a big fan of sports, so that's what makes him a good candidate to be a friend of the show. So thanks for coming on, Jose. How was your week?
You're welcome. Good. Not too bad. Just here, trying to, add something to the show. You guys seem to have a good thing going.
Yeah, well, we're trying, we're building. It's thoughts a mile journey starts with one step. So we're trying to build every episode. So anytime if you see something, some of the content, feel free to definitely throw in your opinion and share it with others if you think that that's an opinion they may want to comment on, whether it's for or against. Like, again, with you on the show, we'll definitely oblige and talk about the Steelers and anything that you specifically want to. But if you think some of our ridiculous takes on the Patriots are just overblown, and share those with the Patriots haters out there, and if they're following and they're hating, I'm all for that. Like I like that popularity and that attention as well. So feel free to share any of the content for sure.
Sounds good. Will do.
Yeah, Wally, how was your week, man?
Week's been good. I'm up in the coast of Maine this weekend for a wedding, so we're in Old Orchard Beach tonight.
Yeah, that's nice. I was up there this summer. I went to the piano bar up there.
No kidding.
I'm sorry, no, it wasn't Old Orchard. What's the Ogunquit?
Ogunquit.
So you're like 30 minutes away from there, right?
Yeah, a little further north.
Yeah. It's a nice area, man.
I haven't been here before. It's a very nice area.
Yeah, we were discussing about because we usually vacation in that area, we started going up closer to Ogunquit, and they were talking about the prices are going way up and they're kind of driving us out of that market. And if they won't drop the price, then we need to find another place. And we were looking at Old Orchard.
Go further north, go above Portland.
Yeah.
Go Brunswick, Brunswick, Bath, Popham area, 100%.
On the ocean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's less developed. You'll enjoy it more, I promise. Okay. It's my favorite place on earth, the mid-coast of Maine.
All right. And just in time, the Heartbreak Kid decides to join us. How was your week, Chet? We just got started. We're just doing intros.
Awesome. My week was good. My voice is awful. So I was thinking I need someone to make me feel good about myself. And I was thinking, Jose, he has time for that.
That's good. Hey, we appreciate you coming on, even though your voice is ragged.
Listener. Active listener today.
Yeah, you're a good listener. Surprised you don't have like some sort of technique from your acting days, like something to help with the vocal cords. And weren't you doing musicals too?
Was this a karaoke injury?
All right. Well, we appreciate you being on, and yes, for sure, be an active listener and chime in when you can. Take a drink of water before you chime in. Maybe that'll help. Do you have a lozenge or anything? Or take a drink. Well, I don't know. It looks like water, but. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. The first topic that we were going to talk about was we're going to talk college ball with Jose Battle. We wanted to for sure get your insight on some bets. So we'll get to that, but were there some particular games? And I hope you want to talk about the Texas-Georgia game where, here in Austin, Texas, the College Game Day crew is down there on campus setting up right now. Like it's a whole thing down there.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to definitely going to show a lot. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll get on that one. The only few games that I thought were kind of under the radar. And I wrote down a couple reasons why but I think that like the Nebraska Indiana game, kind of
Yeah.
unheralded. Indiana's 6-0, although they haven't really played really great competition, so it's important for them to kind of show well.
Mhm.
Nebraska's 5-1 with the potential to be bowl eligible for the first time in a long time, so it's definitely has a lot of meaning for both and can really send either program to that next level. So you sit down. I think the game's kind of a toss up. Uh, but I like what Matt Rule's doing. The guy's good at what he does in the college
Yep.
level, and he's building it the right way. In Indiana, that coach, he's everybody. Some people will say he's cocky, but he does. He wins at every level he's coached at. So he can
Except
say what he wants because he keeps winning. So
except for the NFL, but yes,
well, no,
he.
not Matt Rule. I'm not Matt Rule. I'm talking about the Indiana coach. I forget what his name is, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, he
A
was a
li-
high school coach and then went to a smaller college like Division III, won national title, and now he's in Indiana. So it's like he says, I just all I do is win. So we'll
uh,
see. We'll see now. He's going to play against a really good team that 5-1 and got a lot of talent. So I don't know if you guys
yeah.
keep up with all that, but if anybody wants to chime in, you're more than welcome to.
Kurt Cagnetti is the coach's name.
Oh, there you go.
I have the benefit of looking it up, so I wouldn't have guessed that. But I do know. I wanted to look at their roster because they have some decent. Their quarterback was a transfer, I believe.
Yeah, they
Hit the
transferred in some
transfer
good
portal,
guys. Yeah,
and like a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot of them, but yeah, I have heard that he as well is building that program the right way.
yeah,
Uh, is it Cherry or no? Tavon Jackson, I think, is
yeah.
the quarterback that starts. I think was he? I feel like he was at Florida, the Seminoles last year.
He might have
Maybe.
been. I'm not sure.
It's hard to follow all the
Yeah,
that
this
in college football
NIL, man.
nowadays. They jump around so frequently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it is
Yeah,
very much so.
that's one of those things they need to kind of get ahead on. Probably the other game that I thought was going to be interesting and basically kind of can look at it as an elimination game is that Alabama Tennessee. Both teams have one loss. They're playing in the SEC, which is tough, but they with Georgia and Texas leading the way, it's kind of hard. You can't fall too far behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that should be another good game, and it should be interesting because you know both teams beat Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's offense is sketchy. So you know what are we looking at here? So we're gonna find out a lot more about both those teams because they've both been kind of up and down all year.
yeah.
So
I think this game specifically is like Sarkeesian's moment to kind of like I won't say take over the SEC, but Kirby Smart's still there. He's
yeah,
done really well. So, but if he does beat Georgia, I think this is a sign that a bit of a changing of the tide because Texas go back a couple years where we were struggling. Like, what's the reason? What was the reason for our struggles? We had a really young offensive line. Offensive players in general, and the defensive line has always been stout and always been had a good rotation of athletes going through there. Uh, and they developed that offensive line, and they're all a bunch of studs. Like that,
yeah.
that entire offensive line will probably be drafted in the first round next year.
Yeah.
If they
Well,
all
I
continue
think
to grow.
Sarkeesian learned a lot when he spent that time at Alabama. Him and Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban Sarkeesian was kind of a spiral, and he's kind of didn't really have who know who or what he was. That time
Yeah,
in Alabama, I think Nick Saban helped refocus, and that Texas is a beneficiary of that because he's realized, hey, we're going to own the line of scrimmage, we're going to run the ball, and play action pass and do things. The only thing I don't like is the potential quarterback issue, that controversy. Which one do you go with? But it's not like either one's a slouch. But
yeah. You mean
if the
Ewers for Texas? Ewers and
Arch
Mainick?
Manning, that middle Manning. Yeah, that Manning. It's a tough one because as soon as yours looks a little bad, everybody's going to be, oh, we want Manning, we want Manning. Sometimes you got to let a guy struggle a little bit to show what he's made of.
Yeah, I think that Sark did the right thing. Like Ewers shouldn't lose his starting job to injury, so
Yeah,
I was skeptical of getting Ewers back in there because of just momentum, right? Like Arch hadn't done anything wrong. Like let's keep the kid in, keep the momentum going. Like he hasn't done anything to be benched, but at the same time,
yeah,
he's still the backup quarterback. So if the starter's good to go, and again, I was skeptical going into the Red River game too because that was his first game. I talked to you before the game and was like asking about the line and asking about the game and what you thought, and you were spot on with, I thought that it was going to be the over, and I thought Oklahoma would score 20 something points. I thought Texas would still win and potentially cover, but you were spot on with the under and the Texas covering, so, which was surprised me. Again, I thought Texas would win by a touchdown, but I thought it would be a much higher scoring game, and you called it. And Ewers and that defense, they were both very efficient. Like Ewers had flashes of brilliance, didn't impress or press to get a deep ball like I think Arch Manning loves to do. Loves to throw that ball deep and get some air underneath it. That's the excitement part that the fans always want to see. So there's definitely some pushback on Ewers starting over him, but of course now that he has that game under his belt, it's all everyone's pulling for the kid. They're all super supportive, and Arch. They're looking forward to seeing Arch Manning next year. Like Ewers came back for this year. Good for him. Thank you very much. Let's ride it out and see how this.
Do you think he's on a short leash? I mean, how much of a struggle will he be allowed to have before the dogs are barking at the door for Arch Manning?
That's a good question. I'm going to look up his schedule. Do you have an answer to that, Jose?
I'm not sure. I will say this, that I think if he does what Saban would do and all the real good coaches like Osborne do, he's going to ride it out.
Yeah.
And then come the big game when it matters, either the SEC championship or in the playoffs, then he's going to be on a shorter leash. I think the season, especially if they beat Georgia, he's going to have enough cred that, hey, I get a chance to really kind of mess it up. Now, if he loses to Georgia, the leash is definitely going to get shorter, because everybody's going to want that attack. We want the home runs, we want the home runs. The key to me is, like I said last week, if that defense plays well, and they play clean and they can control the line of scrimmage on both sides, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I just like with Oklahoma, when they made the mistakes and turned the ball over, Texas made them pay exactly what you're supposed to do. So, other than a few turnovers, that game was pretty close. I mean, and Oklahoma's defense played well, just they didn't get any help. So, the Sooners are one I'd watch out for next year if they can get an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. I don't think Ewers will be on a short leash, to be honest with you, because I think he's starting again because they're number one. Even though they're number one for the last 2 weeks, they're number one because Ewers got him there.
Yeah,
it wasn't Arch Manning that got him there, So
no, and he had a really good run last year. I just don't want to see them do what they did where they had that major Applewhite, Chris Sims.
I don't want to see him
trying to force Chris Sims in, and he never really turned out to be what he was supposed to be. So let the guy there that's got you there, and then he can inherit the job later.
Yeah, I agree. I think looking at the schedule too, they don't play another ranked opponent until they play A&M the last game of the season. So,
I think that sets up nicely for them then.
But it's all SEC from this point on as well. So it's not easy wins, but I think you're right about he brings the experience edge. Like I just think of course watching a couple games that Arch Manning played, he does like to press and try and throw the deep ball, press to get the deep ball, right? Like Rivers is like he'll check down all day. He'll take what the defense gives him, and then when the defense falls asleep or their defense comes in with when there's a mismatch offensively, then he'll hit that long ball. And I think his experience is what's going to be needed the closer we get to the end of the season and the playoffs. So I don't think he'll be on a short leash. I don't. Again, pending another injury, I don't think Arch Manning sees the field again this year. So. And I'm super looking forward to seeing him next year, of course. But so just to backtrack, though, the line on Indiana and Nebraska was, I think
it's 8.5 or something like that. I think. Wait, no, what is it?
So I'm seeing Indiana's a 6.5 point favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, it's Nebraska's offense been kind of struggling, but I think that's part of the growing pains. They got the freshman quarterback, and sometimes in games, being a Nebraska fan, they've gotten in love with Rayola's arm and forget about the running game. And the running game is what sets them up when they get their leads. So, I think that if they can just stay balanced, they'll be fine. Stay balanced, they'll turn the ball over. They'll be fine. But I like what Indiana's doing. But this is definitely going to be a jump up in talent. The only real team they played before that was UCLA. So UCLA,
for Indiana,
they're like, and UCLA is 1-5. So,
well, Indiana's undefeated. It's at home. Weather's not supposed to be a factor. So. Do you think they cover? What do you think? Indiana's again 6.5. Well, I'm looking at ESPN. The ESPN.
That's what I'm seeing too. 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a field goal game. And it's going to be, hey, if Indiana gets the ball at the end, it's going to be scary because that offense is really good. So, the Nebraska is going to have to control the clock and keep that offense on the sideline because that's pretty much that's helping that defense, and being a part of being a great defense is keeping a great offense on the sideline. So if you can do that and help your defense out when you limit the amount of opportunities, that's going to be a big deal for them. For Nebraska.
And then the 49.5 is the over. What do you?
I wouldn't go the over on that one. I just don't. I don't think unless Indiana just starts rolling, I don't see Nebraska. They're just not built that way to put up a lot of points. So
so I would say go under. Yeah. Okay. Nice. And then the Texas Georgia game has Texas. Where's it at? Texas is a 5-point favorite.
Ooh, that's a big spread.
And the over under is 57.5.
Now that one I could see maybe get the over. I could quite possibly see because if those both offenses get it rolling, it's going to be fireworks because they got so much talent, both of them. Yeah. So I would probably bet the over on that more so than the other game.
Yeah. Do you think Texas covers, or you think it's again a field goal game?
I think it's a field goal game. I don't, 5 points. Oh, and Georgia's had their struggles, and people have been kind of questioning them. So it's like, okay, we gotta show why we were on the top of the mountain. So
yeah,
they're gonna come ready to play. That's for sure.
Okay. What have you seen Cam Ward play at all at Miami? Or did you have another game?
I have. I watched Cam Ward. That's one of the games I did look up. That Miami game. I think they play Louisville this week, and that should be an interesting one. I like Cam Ward. Think that he's shown that he's capable, but they've kind of escaped a couple games where they should have really won easily.
Yeah.
So they definitely got to play clean is one thing, and the ACC is not the SEC or the Big Ten. So when you sit down, you say, okay, when you're struggling beating those teams, you need to be impressive, or else you could be left out because Clemson's getting hot, and I don't know if they play them in this year or not, but until the play championship. But I will say they Miami's good, Cam Ward's good, but the games that I saw them, they played Virginia Tech, and it was back and forth, and he made some plays at the end, and they won the game. But at the end of the day, Virginia Tech's a 500 team. Not You're not looking at an undefeated team or anybody that what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Miami has struggled in some of their victories, but I mean, they are undefeated. They can't
Yeah,
had a
I mean,
huge comeback in the second half last week.
yeah, yeah. I thought
Can't
they were going
remember.
down last week. They definitely came roaring back. But I mean, again, that's one of those things when you play top tier teams, you're not going to come roaring back. You're not coming back against Clemson or Alabama or Texas. You get down two touchdowns and a field goal. It's going to be lights out.
Yeah, that was against Virginia Tech too. So
Yeah.
that was last week. Or
So
I'm sorry, it was Cal. I think they came back in the second half against Virginia Tech as well, like
yeah.
two weeks in a row. But
Yeah.
Cam Ward's projected to be the number one
First round pick.
quarterback potentially. Yeah,
Uh,
first round pick for
I
sure. What do you
I don't
think?
know. I don't think he should be the number one overall pick. That's for sure. And
First
I like you.
quarterback taken though?
I mean, I like you. There's a bunch of guys out there that I like better than Cam Ward. Again, the Virginia Tech game, it wasn't for. They basically had to be bailed out because
Yeah.
they hit the Hail Mary, but then they called it incomplete. So you were a referee's assistance from being one lost team. So,
Yeah.
um, but I look at Cam Ward, good quarterback, solid, having a good year. But so did Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett had one really good year. Cam Ward's history over his college career says he's not worth being number one, or even a first round pick. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and as a Steeler fan, I saw Kenny Pickett have that one marvelous year at Pitt, but for other 3 years he was trash. You see how that worked out for Pittsburgh. So if I was a team, I would kind of shy away from that. Second
Yeah.
round, maybe third round for sure, but first round, I don't know.
Did you see any games that you think like an underdog has a chance?
Uh, well, I did find there's another. You have a 3-3 Oklahoma State against an undefeated BYU. It's such an interesting game because Oklahoma State at the beginning of the year was, a top 15 program. They were ranked high. Everybody
Yeah.
was talking about their offense and all this. They're going to be a juggernaut. And they might have the defense this year put together, and they've really kind of flopped.
Yeah.
But that Oklahoma State is a dangerous team because if they do play the potential like everybody thinks they can, then BYU can get knocked out. Can get knocked down. BYU's been really good. They're winning on both sides of the line. Their run pass mix is great. I watched a game of theirs and they looked great, but that's the potential. You're playing a team that everybody had, top. Some thought they were definitely going to make the playoffs, and now you got a team that they're 3-3. They got nothing to lose. So, and Gundy, T. Boone Pickens paid a lot of money. He didn't pay a lot of money to be left out. So,
Yeah.
he may be coaching for his job. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So if I think there's an upset to be had, I think it's Oklahoma State over BYU.
Okay. Well, I'm talking to Wally and trying to get him to put some money on it. BYU's favored by 8, and the total's 52.5. I do like the over on that. It's
I do
46
too.
degrees. Yeah, the over, and then I think Oklahoma can cover that spread.
Yeah.
I'm with you
And,
on that.
that running back was supposed to be a potential All-American. The quarterback was supposed to be really good. I mean, they've got talent there. So it's like they were projected to be top 10 team, top 15 team, and, they fell off. So if they can kind of put it all together, especially, and this is important for Gundy because you go to 3-4, you know how boosters are. They're going to be like, hey, we didn't spend all this money to lose. We didn't spend all this money to be, Oklahoma and Texas left the Big 12. So we were
Yeah.
supposed to take it over. And now we're being beaten out by BYU. I don't think that's going to play well out there in Stillwater. So
Yep. Do you think Virginia has a chance against Clemson?
I don't know. I don't like that one. I think Clemson's starting to get hot, which is scary.
Yeah.
because they do have talent. Dabo's a good coach, and they were pretty much left for dead at the beginning of the season, and now they're starting to figure it out. Hey, let's play with this chip on our shoulder. And there's nothing like a brotherhood when you can rally the troops like Dabo does. They can definitely be dangerous. So I don't see Virginia beating them. I don't even think I didn't think it's probably more than a 10-point game. I would give Virginia 10 points and not even worry about it. That's my philosophy. So
Yeah, the spread's Clemson by 20.
yeah,
They're a 20-point favorite.
yeah. So I
usually
that's a big
like to
spread.
look at the yeah, it is. I usually like to look at the spread, and if the underdog has a chance, I usually don't like to bet unless I think the underdog can win, because you shouldn't bet on them not losing by that many. But
Yeah, no, I don't. I think Clemson has a point to prove to everybody that, hey, you kind of threw us to the side and said we're irrelevant, and I think they're now like, okay, well, it's us against the world, and that's always a dangerous proposition for everybody that has to play against them. So 20 points, I don't think that's enough for Virginia.
okay, yeah, I agree. Was there another game that you specifically wanted to highlight? Or?
I'm curious about the Oklahoma and South Carolina game too. South Carolina had their ups and downs. They've looked good. They had Alabama on the ropes and had their hearts
Yeah,
broken. And Oklahoma is really good defensively. And this may be a game where, hey, if Hawkins can at least and they could get the running game going, and Hawkins can just hit a few passes, this could be a really good game to watch. And because I think it's an evenly matched game and allows both teams to grow and kind of build. They're not really thinking playoffs, but hey, let's get a good bowl game. And the winner of this can put themselves in a position for a better bowl game. So, and kind of use it as a, hey, look, these guys hung with Alabama. So if Oklahoma wins, and South Carolina can say, hey, we just saying we beat Oklahoma is going to be a big deal, even though Oklahoma's not the Oklahoma we know.
yeah,
So
okay, yeah, man, yeah. So this is a good segue to talk about some NIL stuff. So like, one thing again, I went back and forth on how I wanted to like talk about this. How I want originally I wanted to like let's start from scratch and we'll talk about how a committee should be formed and what that looks like. Like should it be like basically a CEO with the CFO and like the head of companies as far as the structure, and then underneath them all the branches and divisions. I think we'll just forego that and just basically start off with basically some guidelines that we think are needed uh, to make NIL. I'm not worried about making it fair for everyone, but I think one of the bad things about the NIL program is that it has coaches having to recruit their own players as well as find players in the portal and recruit outside of their organization. So like there's no structure, no stability within their own organization, which nobody ever wants to do that or have to deal with that. And it just seems like with the money that's out there, there just needs to be some sort of structure. So like I guess if we could just go, or between me and you, if Chet wants to like text it, I can bring it up. But uh, I just a couple for you and I, just two rules that we think would make you know uh, the the structure seem more fair slash make college football better. Like for me specifically, I'd like to see some sort of commitment from the player. I don't know what that looks like in a contract. I don't know if that means that they're an employee of the university. The university cuts them a check like they would a teacher, and they're obviously their salary probably wouldn't be higher than a teacher, but they're still eligible for NIL money. But I feel like there's got to be some sort of commitment or a contract to again litigate that and manage that commitment uh, in order for there to be some sort of stability. And I also think that there's probably the two things that I have is again, a structure slash contract for whatever that looks like. Again, I don't know if it's for the university, for the football program, for their NIL money, however that works. Uh, but I also think that there should probably be uh, a limit on how many times an athlete can enter the portal throughout their eligibility in college sports. Because once they enter a portal and then move on, there should be another contract attached to that. So it kind of makes sense that, like, yes, you can get in the portal 3 times in your college career, but you can't do it within 3 times in 5 years or something like that without the NCAA stepping in and creating some sort of regulation or standard or reasoning. What's your reasoning for that? You were injured. Okay, we'll let you forego that rule, and you can enter the portal. But those are my 2 things to try and govern NIL, because right now we all know it's like the wild wild west. So whoever has
Yeah.
the most money. So
I will say this: the contract thing. The first thing the player is going to say, well, the coach he doesn't honor his contract. You know, I signed a 5-year deal, but then Alabama comes calling and I leave the next year. So that's going to be an issue from the player's side. Now, the transport portal, transferring the total amounts, I like that idea. I think it says that, hey, you guys need to kind of hang around somewhere. I'm with Chet, the NIL money. The NCAA fumbled this years ago. And when they had, when they were making that money off EA Sports, this, that, and the other, they could have simply went to a stipend and told, hey, we're going to, full cost of attendance, room, board, food, and a stipend, and players, and this whole thing would have been dealt with.
yeah,
But now it's the wild, wild west. I think that I'm with Chet that, hey, if you're going to get paid, then, you probably need to start paying some of your way, like a regular college student. If you got $1 million in NIL, so why should the school be paying for your school? Because that kid
yeah,
that's paying to go to school, and getting that 100,000, 200,000 in college debt, he's sitting there going, hey, wait a minute, I got to pay my own way. This guy's getting money, and the NCAA did step up. They did do the stipend and then full cost attendance, but even just paying for their tuition. Some of these schools, I mean, you go to Stanford, you're talking 2, 3, $400,000 in loans if you're there as a regular student. So,
yeah,
you sit down. To me, if you're going to get the NIL money, well, you know what? Hey, guess what? Now you can start paying for your schooling, at least your own schooling, your own housing. So, and you could just say it's a dollar amount. If you get over, if you get six figures in NIL money, then guess what? You can pay for your own tuition, and you can pay for your own housing, your books, and now you can be like a regular student, so to say they can see how it feels, because people don't realize, hey, yeah, they weren't getting all that extra money, but you were getting some education for free. And my daughter, she ran for ULM, uh, and University of Louisiana Monroe. They put her on scholarship. She she got her, she's got out of the school with zero debt, and that's a huge deal.
yeah,
And I tell her that all the time. So she, for her, she wasn't getting NIL money or this, that, and the other, but she appreciates that, hey, I already got a head stuff, and now she's at UIW, Incarnate Word, and they're paying for her school. She lives with me. They're paying for her school, so she's going to have a master's degree paid for. So to me, she's going out in the world with a master's degree, about to be going in the world with a master's degree, and no debt. That's a
yeah,
huge, huge advantage versus other people. So I think, to me, I'm with Chet on that. Hey, let's start saying, hey, if you make X amount of dollars, you need to start paying your own way, so that the rest of us can feel, so that, so you can see what the normal college student is really going through, and
yeah,
that's one of those things that I agree with. That's wholeheartedly. And the transport pool, the only thing with contracts, like I said, I think they're going to be like, well, coaches can leave when they want. But I think there should, if you're going to do with the coach with it, punish the kid, then you need to put in a coach's contract. Hey, the NCAA needs to say, hey, you signed a 5-year deal with this school. You need to at least stay 3 years. You're getting kids to come here, and then you're leaving the next year. That's not fair to them. So you need to hold the coaches accountable. You need to say, hey, wait a minute, you know, I know that job over there looks so much more, lush, but guess what? You made a commitment to these kids. And, if you're going to leave, at least tell the kids, hey, next year I'm going to look at my options, or at least tell the kids, hey, we're undefeated. We're in the playoffs. If a better job comes, be honest with the kids. Don't tell them, oh, I'm here. I love it here. And then, 2 days after the bowl game, you're packing your bags moving somewhere else. And sometimes they
Yeah.
even pack their bags. And, Taylor DeBoer was at Washington, and they're playing in that. And then boom, now he's in Alabama. All those kids at Washington are left, well, you used Michael Penix and all of us to get to this pinnacle. Now you just abandon us and for something that's green, the grass is greener.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the contracts, I mean, coaches are bought out of their contracts and then they leave. So that's an agreement between the two universities that covers a certain dollar amount. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a business decision on both ends. So the university can not allow the buyout to happen, but I mean,
Yeah.
what good would that do?
Yeah.
And I think again, under a litigation or a contractual obligation, then it would be the same for players, except they can't be in the transfer portal if they're under a current contract. So the buyout would have to happen. Then they can enter the portal. But then that also, the second stipulation is also kind of like, checks and balances. Like if I can't enter the portal more than 3 times in my collegiate, career, whatever that eligibility range is, then, I may not be eligible to actually go into the portal. So that contract buyout might happen, but now we're back to the old days where I'm transferring, but I'm ineligible to play because I was under contract with this team and I can't get in the portal for so long, Again, this is why I think that there needs to be, again, a governing body that can like figure these things out and like create the checks and balances. Because I agree with everything, even what Chet said, but we're way past that point where, hey, I'm sorry, these guys are just. This is the farm system for the NFL. Let's just look at it that way. They are well, and I would say any respective professional sport, like our college athletes are amateurs in a sense that they're not at the professional level yet, but this is their practice field. They're going for that, and if they can make money, that's.
Well, I don't have an issue with.
Like,
I don't have an issue with them getting paid. I just, to me, once you start getting paid ridiculous sums, then you need to pay your way. Even with the transferring, if you want to, the guys is going transferring every year to get more money. I'm not opposed to it. I just want the guys to understand that if you're you're working on a brand, you need to have some loyalty to something and not pimp yourself out, so to speak. So you're sitting down and you're looking at these kids jump from here to here. Now I understand a kid and say, hey, I'm at Texas and I signed at Texas when Queen Ewers was here. Now Manning's here. So I dropped on the depth chart and I still haven't even taken a snap yet. To limit that guy's potential, that's not fair to him, because he may have been a 4-star who thought, hey, I'm going to get a shot. So, let him go. But again, limit the amount. I mean, Dylan Gabriel was at UCF, then he went to Oklahoma, now he's at Oregon. He's kind of the quintessential guy who transferred a lot. And now he's getting paid for it. But, it's worked out for him. Every stop he's gone to a better and better program. And his ability to get to the NFL. And then that's one of these things these kids need to be taught too is, less than 1% of you is going to the NFL or to Major League Baseball. So you need to focus on that education. You need to get that education and build upon it and go in there and find something, work on a business degree, work on something that you can use when you do leave. There's so many years of guys that go to school for 5 years and have nothing to show for it because they took Mickey Mouse classes and just enough to stay eligible. And I think that's something that we need to address too. Hey, if you're gonna say they're student athletes, then make them be students. Make them actually earn a degree. If not, hey, with the NIL deal, hey, if you're gonna leave and You made $3 million while you're here. Guess what? When you go to the NFL and you don't have your degree, well, now you got to pay back what you owe
Yeah.
in tuition. There's ways you can kind of do it, but I mean, it's interesting. I just feel like, hey, once you start getting too much money, it's not fair to these regular students. And yeah, the students
Yeah.
are cheering for him, but at the same token, let's be realistic. If you're, Dylan Raiola for Nebraska is getting $1 million plus or whatever, he can afford to pay his own way,
Yeah.
with that, just with the NIL money. So why not say, hey, that money that would go to him, why don't we give out some scholarship money to the other kids and not, and instead of giving it to this guy who's making money, can afford it, you know?
Yeah. I would almost say not every athletic scholarship, but a lot of them can turn into academic scholarships and be taken away from the athletes because I honestly think that they should be athletes, and if they want to be a student they can, but they don't
Yeah.
have to attend school because, and let's look at it this way, maybe there's a stipulation behind that where again the kids that are making enough to pay their own way, they pay for their tuition, but they don't have to go to school until after they're done playing sports if they want to. It's basically like a stipend. Like there may be a different tuition fees between now and when I go to school 5 years from now, but I'm paying for a college education now that I can get in the future when I'm done being an athlete, if they so choose. I mean, and I know, being a student athlete is not as hard as it used to be because I'm sure they can go to most of their classes are all online. Online schooling is a lot easier for people that are, I mean, busy, so to speak, doing other things. But yeah, I think that there's definitely some loopholes, and also, again, I agree with you. I think they should get an education, but I think that they can also invest in their education while they're making money, as in, and maybe they look at that as a donation. Hey, if you donate, let's say, I don't know, $100,000 to the college that you're attending, then one, that pays for your education, and then two, the rest of it goes towards a scholarship for another student that
Yeah.
in the future, something to that effect. But you
Yeah.
know, I do think that they should be capitalizing on this because it's almost like I think in a perfect world, like damn, if these boosters and all these people want to create NIL money, why don't we just one year give all that money to the school and let everybody go to school for free that year?
Yeah.
Like, that would be
Yeah.
awesome, right? Like, but that's
It
also
would.
part. I feel like that's also socialism as well. But
Well, hey, again, that goes back to like these scholarships, and again, the money that's given to these scholarship for these football players.
Mhm.
You have binding sports, and then you have non-binding sports, track, and some of these other sports
Yeah,
are on year to year, in some are semester to semester scholarships. So to me, if you pull money from the football team, hey, you got 40 guys here getting a ton of money, they can pay their own way. Let's take that money and put it into these non-binding sports. Let's help out the track team. Let's help out the
yeah,
golf team. Help out women's volleyball. Let's help out
yeah,
these other sports that could use the money.
yeah,
You have schools cutting programs to pay for the football team. And it's crazy. It's like you want to spend, like Clemson built some facility for the football team, was 100 some $1 billion. Well, that money could have been spent to fund all kinds of sports,
yeah,
all kinds of other academic adventure, all kind of, but you gave it to the football team so that guys can have a nicer locker room and some PlayStation pool tables and all the comforts that they, of life. Well,
yeah,
that's to me, that's the trade-off. If you want to get paid and you get X amount of dollars, then guess what? Now you no longer are eligible for this college scholarship money. You have to pay your own way, and we're going to give that money to somebody else who isn't on scholarship. Or
yeah,
hey, that guy on track is on a 25% scholarship. I'm sure he'll be happy to be on 75%. Like the only thing I would say is it's just they need to come up with some kind of framework. And uh, you know, with all these TV deals, this, that, and the other, it's it's costing the kids that don't play sports or kids that aren't into major sports a lot of out of pocket. So
Yeah.
We can fix
Yeah.
that and kind of share some of that around. So
Yeah, I agree. And again, how do you, that's probably my, one of the biggest points. How do you, it's business, right? And it's commerce. So it doesn't need to be fair for everybody. But that's also where I say there needs to be a cap space or a cap limit that a team can spend. And also,
yeah,
how do we make it equal for the athlete that is, and again, the athlete that's the quarterback in the SEC program, he can make all his money off of NIL, but there needs to be an equality between, or we need to see an equality between him and the other college athletes that aren't as big as the football program. So how do we do that? And again, that's kind of where I think about the employee. Like
yeah,
if they're an HR, if they're an employee of the university, then they're all getting paid the same, and
yeah,
that's an income that they all have across the board, and what they can make on their own in NIL money, booster money that comes in, or NIL money on their own, however that works, then that, I mean, again, that's commerce. That's the
yeah,
America that we live in, the business world that we live in. They should be able to make that money, but in order to make it equal for each athlete at the collegiate level, I think it has to be something like a stipend, something like you're an employee now of the university, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay for your school, but it means that if you're a student athlete, like you don't have to go to school now because you're an employee, and or you get it at a discounted rate or however that works. You can come back, spend your millions however you want to, but come back and get an education.
yeah. Definitely interesting. That's going to be you're going to need a lot of people with a lot of business people to get in there and kind of figure this all out. I mean, it's not my forte, but in my humble opinion, like I said, I mean, one of the things you did say is like, because like all that TV money, that's going to the university. So when it goes to university, that can be distributed. Like with the NIL, that belongs to the athlete. But that TV money, that deal with ESPN or ABC or Paramount or whoever they're with, well, guess what? That's going to the university. Well, that should be evenly distributed. So, and that's one of those things they can look at. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we all agree that there needs to be some sort of governing body, some regulatory entity to like enforce and create rules and guidelines for universities to be held accountable for and follow. And I think moving forward, we all agree that that needs to happen, because it is just the wild wild west, and it's like the highest bidder, and not only that, but again, highest bidder this year. I don't. Someone else is outbidding me. I'm going to enter the transfer portal, and then I'm eligible automatically to play for that university. I don't like the fact that there is no level of commitment
yeah.
for.
Well, and the funny thing is, this essentially is what SMU got their program killed for.
Yeah,
When they
yeah,
shut down SMU for 2 years, what's going on now is basically what they were doing. So, it's
yeah.
definitely.
That
How the irony in it is so funny, and it's funny that Reggie Bush now gets his Heisman back because now what he was doing, taking that money, 500,000, now it's like, oh well, now I can do that. So now they're like,
yeah.
well, no, there's no reason to hold it back from him. Although I didn't think he should. I thought Matt Leinart should have been the two-time Heisman Trophy winner, but that's my opinion. But that's for another day.
Yeah, yeah, that would be an interesting conversation as well. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll move on from college ball with battle and NIL stuff, and we'll move into. I'm going to be the only one talking about this, but Drake May and our. I'll get your opinion on Drake May and how things looked if you got a chance to watch. I know after Sunday after the game, Walter and I got on, did another Zoom, and it basically gave our initial reaction to Drake May and his performance. But There are some things that I wanted to point out about his performance that even him and I didn't even talk about. Like, if we look at the top three quarterbacks that were drafted, those top three being Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. Caleb Williams, his first game, he was 14 and 29 with 93 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and his team ended up winning 24-17. Now, those are trash numbers for any quarterback in the NFL, but he ended up getting the win, and that was his first start as a rookie. And that's the number one pick overall. Jaden Daniels, number two pick overall, was 17 and 24 for 184 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. The team lost by 17. They did score 20 points, so he was responsible for piloting that offense, so to speak, to 20 points. And then you look at Drake May's first start, 20 of 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Team lost by 20. But those are some pretty good numbers stacked up against his peers on his first start. And, I mean, some better numbers that he did have was he was 6 of 13 for 113 yards with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, no sacks against the blitz, specifically on Sunday. And for a rookie quarterback, those are some numbers that we'd like to see the completion percentage go up against the blitz, but for him to have that amount of yards and 2 touchdowns against the blitz, like.
Nate, I don't mean to hurt your feelings. One, I feel bad for Chet because you and Wally left him out, so you didn't call the guy up. Like, come on, man. You guys.
No,
are all
no. Well,
but I'm just messing with you. But second, you're talking about Drake. Man, I watched some of that game. I think the kid's a good quarterback. I think he played well, but some of those numbers can be kind of inflated because of the lead, they were kind of backing off. They weren't attacking on defense. So he was able to sit a little more comfortably. So especially the second half when the game's in hand, it's kind of more padding stats. I mean, it's kind of like fantasy football. You got you really want you have good quarterbacks who win, and then you have bad teams that are losing, but you got quarterbacks going to throw 40 times, throw for 300 yards. He's going to put 300 yards. He's going to put up numbers for you, but just because he's playing catch up, so they're throwing a lot of the ball a lot more.
For sure.
I think too with quarterbacks, so much of it is they get too much credit when they win and too much blame when they lose, because you sit down and you look and say, wait a minute, you watch some of these, a guy getting hit over and over and over again. It's like, well, damn, how am I supposed to be a quarterback when I'm running for my life? So, when you get, if you're lucky enough to get into a system, Ben Roethlisberger was lucky. He fell to the Steelers, who were a pretty good team, fell to the Steelers and fell into a great situation. He had a great career. He started with Bill Cowher and then through Mike Tomlin. But a lot of these guys are picked up in the first, second, third round, like Trevor Lawrence down there in Jacksonville running for his life. They can't get a coach right to save their life. To me, if I was the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would have said to them, hey, look, you're a good quarterback, but do you want me to pay your linemen so you can stay safe, or do you want all the money in your pocket? And that's how you have to look at it. And so to me, I would rather have a game manager and build a line and put some talent around him and build that great defense, because Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl ring. Joe Theismann has a Super Bowl ring. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there with that Super Bowl ring. Not that great. Then there's guys who put up numbers, but they took all the money, and guess what? They don't have any rings. So and you guys had the guy who basically invented I'm going to take less, but you better pay everybody else around me. And he's running around here with his damn wrist breaking because he's got so many damn rings on his fingers.
It's hard to hold those up, man.
He's just like, oh, it's so heavy. Oh,
Yeah. To your point though about the numbers, we can use the numbers to generate an agenda if we so choose. But the one number that I'm more impressed with is the touchdown. They were down 14. They got a touchdown inside the 2 minutes to end the first half, and like that ball was so perfectly timed, so perfectly thrown, and for him to have that amount of poise, and again, it went through the entire first half. Everything was terrible. Like there was not a good thing that came out of that first half, except the last drive where they scored that touchdown. And that ball that he threw, that ball went, I think it was 38 yards in the air because it was a 38-yard touchdown pass. It would have gone. He probably could have got it farther if he needed to, but that ball specifically was the farthest ball thrown for a completion in the last, or said in the post Tom Brady era. So I mean, and again, in the position that it was thrown, the timing that it was thrown, like it was the end of the half. We needed a score. He delivered. So I mean, yeah, did he get the other two touchdowns when we were already down by two scores as well? Yes, and the offense kept continuing to answer. So I wouldn't say that they were not trying to sack the quarterback or play defense differently.
You go back to Caleb Williams' first start, and you say, well, his numbers were putrid, this, that, and the other. But the number that mattered for the Chicago Bears
is the win.
No, was turnovers. He had 0 turnovers.
No interceptions,
0 turnovers. What was the knock on Justin Fields when he was in Chicago? He was either fumbling the ball or throwing a pick. So you eliminated turnovers. Even though the quarterback play wasn't great, they still won. Why? Well, because guess what? He's sitting down and saying, I'm going to manage the game. I'm going to protect the ball, and we're going to stay in the game. This defense is going to keep us in game and win it when we need to. And I think that's what and everybody gets, and that's, everybody, the Steelers, well, it works though. Mike Tomlin has made a living and has no losing seasons because he manages games, keeps it close. Any games where they don't have turnovers, they're always in them, and there's always close, and they find a way to win. Our kicker kicked like 6 field goals one game to win, but we won. But and because they didn't turn the ball over, and that's one of the things I think that learning to throw the ball away and limit your turnovers is probably the hardest thing for these guys because they're playing at these level down in college. The window is this big, and then they get to the NFL and the window becomes like this, and it shrinks. And so they're like, oh crap. And some of them may hesitate and say, I don't know if I can fit it in there. Sometimes you got to let loose. You got to lose, and figure out what works. And I think the lost art in college is because of all the, hey, let's look to the sideline and get the play call. There's not as many guys coming out of college that can come up to the line. Hey, they're in a cover 2 or they're in man. Hey, they're single high safety. This is where, they're not, there's just not enough guys that can come up to the line of scrimmage and say, hey, let's see what offense, their defense is. All right, I see they're single high. They're sitting there. This is man. Oh, by the way, they're showing blitz on this side. You need to be able to process all that and very rapidly. That was one of the things that Tom Brady, I think he was blessed to have Drew Bledsoe. And I think he got to learn from a very good quarterback, Drew Bledsoe, who I believe invented the Patriots way because when he did well in the playoffs and helped him get to the Super Bowl, he didn't complain when he got to the Super Bowl. Just kept quiet, say, hey, Tom Brady's our quarterback. I'll be there when ready. He showed Tom Brady how to be professional, how to read, how to do everything the right way. So, Bledsoe had been to the Super Bowl. He's like, I took this to the Super Bowl. He could have made a huge stink, and he didn't. So professional and so underappreciated. And I think Tom would tell you the same thing. Hey, this guy, he showed me what it was like to be a professional, to be that guy. And it helped. And so you sit down and you look. That's one of the things playing up here. The NFL is about playing up here, processing, come up to the line of scrimmage because they're showing you looks and they're constantly moving guys in and out. And that's what separates the athlete or the guy who's good in college to the guy that gets to the NFL and it succeeds, and that processing.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
That's why.
Yes,
sir.
and
that's why we should wait to pay these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Because you need the whole package to be a professional. You need the whole fucking package. Sorry.
Of course you do, but that package, whether they have money in their pocket in college, that package is completed and fine tuned in the NFL. Like there is a reason why there is only one at this time, one Tom Brady, and only if you can probably count on your hand the number of quarterbacks that are winning the game pre snap. They already know and identify what's going on with the defense pre snap. Now that doesn't predetermine where they're going, but that gives them an idea of where they want to go, and then also where their eyes are going to start from their drop back, progression. Like they're not looking at a wide receiver or in a general area. They already know where they're at. They're watching the defense to see where the defense is shifting or sliding to see if was I right? Did I read it right? And if I did, then now the ball's out and it's where I wanted it to go. But yeah, there's only a few quarterbacks that have been able to be that successful and do that.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
but,
I mean, you
but
sit
for
down
us,
and you look at these
I'm
guys now.
just
I don't think they're
to Chet's
preparing those
point
guys
about
to
to Chet's point about the pay. I don't think it matters at the collegiate level what they're if they're paid. That has nothing to do. I think that pay will almost, in fact, allow them to become a Tom Brady before that, because now they're putting money into their public education, right, on the field. They're helping themselves get better athletically and mentally, hopefully, with whatever venue they want to use that money in. Like, I mean,
I don't know about the helping them on the field, because I will honestly say, yeah, that money is good for their life and for their future. But Tom Brady was hungry because he kept getting benched for Drew Henson in college.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. People don't realize Tom Brady.
He fought for his job every week.
But they kept putting Drew Henson in front of him, and he would come back and win. And it's like they kept saying, yeah, but this guy was the higher recruit. This guy, everybody kept talking about it. And Drew Henson even got drafted in the NFL to the Cowboys, and he was garbage. But the problem was because of when they came out of high school, this Drew Henson was supposed to be the guy. Well, guess what? He didn't turn out to be. But that competitiveness is what drove Tom Brady to become Tom Brady. And then getting there with Drew Bledsoe, it's like, hey, I got this guy Drew Bledsoe was on a Hall of Fame career. He was on track to be a Hall of Famer until he got hurt. And so Tom Brady was constantly looking for stories. He knew, hey, if I F this up, they're going to call in the bullpen, and Drew's going to come in, and very capable, very, very capable. And it's surprised me. A lot of teams didn't go after Joe Flacco because he is a good quarterback. He's solid. He's not as great. He's not Tom Brady. He's not, but he's a guy who can come in. He can make those reads. He'll keep you honest. He'll play well. He's a solid guy that, hey, and oh, by the way, if you bring a young guy in, he can mentor him. He can do that Drew Bledsoe thing. And so I look at it and I say, well, we got to stop getting out of this quarterback going to come and save us. Because Aaron Rodgers, they talk about him, oh, he's the greatest thrower of the football. Really? Because that's what they said about Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Brett Favre. The list goes on. But how many Super Bowls he has? One. And oh, by the way, that one he won, they almost lost it when Charles Woodson got hurt, went out of the game. If Rashard Mendenhall doesn't fumble, they lose that Super Bowl. You look at that Patriots when the Packers beat them. If Desmond Howard doesn't have the game of his life and kick return, punt return, and the touchdown pass, if he doesn't have those two returns, the Patriots have another Super Bowl even before Brady gets there. So, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers were saved by their defense.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about Desmond Howard. Drew Bledsoe would have had a ring before the Tom Brady era. If it wasn't for Desmond Howard having a freaking game of his life, that dude. I'm happy for him. But
I mean, he won a Heisman in college there, but he made his money that day. And Reggie White, finished it off. But you go and you look, but Aaron Rodgers won Super Bowl ring. Peyton Manning got his second Super Bowl ring, threw for like 150 yards. Yeah, they didn't need Peyton Manning. That defense was so good. You go down the list.
Don't lose the game, Peyton. Yeah, don't
Yeah,
lose the game.
there's a lot of guys that, hey, we don't need you to be great. We just need you not to mess it up.
Yeah.
And that's why I laugh when I see Trent Dilfer talking about throwing down. I'm a QB. I got a Super Bowl ring. Yeah, you got a Super Bowl ring because Jamal Lewis and Ray Lewis and them were just monsters.
Yes.
And all you did was not mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
of the things I told Chet was I thought it was interesting that I think that with this NIL thing, the schools need to have some kind of financial management plan, some kind of financial management course. Say, hey, this is the money. Have athletes come in. I think Darius Hayward-Bay, he played for the Steelers. Mother was an accountant. She made him invest his money. And when he was with the Steelers, he and his mother would come in and they would help all these young guys. Say, hey, look, this is how you do things. This is how money works. And I think they helped a lot of these guys avoid becoming bankrupt because they were taught financial management. And I think that's one of the things with this NIL thing that should be incorporated, and the institution should say, hey, you are now required to teach financial management classes and how money works and all that stuff to these young athletes. And oh, by the way, bring athletes in that they can talk to them and say, hey, it's okay to say no. It's okay. You don't have to save everybody. You don't have to, So I think that when you sit down, I agree with you. It could be beneficial to them to become better stewards of money, but it could also it's a double-edged sword because they could get all that money, have some success, go to the league, and next thing you know, they're just spending money and they, or they could just get in trouble with the money. So there's a lot of things that we got to look at with that. But Jamarcus Russell's an interesting prospect because when you went to the Raiders, you look at who he went there and automatically was kind of supposed to be the leader. When you look at guys that really successful, they didn't go to there. Aaron Rodgers had to sit behind Brett Favre. When Ben Roethlisberger got to the Steelers, he wouldn't have to be the leader because they had Joey Porter, they had Hines Ward, they had Jerome Bettis, they had these guys there that were in place. You look at Tom Brady, he had a Drew Bledsoe and Willie McGinnis and all these guys that, hey, yeah, I'm the young guy, and he could speak, but all those other guys are like, hey, we got you, don't worry about it, we got your back. There was a lot of Ty Law was down there in New England saying, hey, shut your mouth, Tom's talking. He had guys to have his back. You look at a guy like Jamarcus Russell, he got out there and it was kind of a circus. And the poor guy, I'm not saying he couldn't have been a professional, but he played for LSU, and that was during, well, I can't think of his name now. He's the grass eater, Les Miles. And Les Miles kind of ran a party, kind of happy-go-lucky kind of program. So he wasn't really shown that discipline, that everything that, so he's at LSU having a good time. He gets to the Raiders, wants to have a good time. And Les Miles was a great recruiter, but there's a reason why he didn't win. He had more talent than anybody, but didn't win any national titles. Won one. And it's because he didn't teach them how to be. You look at Alabama, conversely, Nick Saban, you had to come there, you had to be a professional. You're a professional day one. He taught you, and if you weren't going to be a professional, get out. Yeah. And I think that's the difference. I think if Jamarcus Russell would have had a coach like Nick Saban or a Bill Belichick, had he gone to, and played for Belichick, Jamarcus Russell would not have behaved the way he would have under a Belichick or a Cowher or any of the great coaches, the way he did out there in the Raiders.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of conversations about coaching. Coaching certainly matters, and like talent, the level of talent that you have, also matters as well. But I think it was Nick Saban that said, a good player can't overcome bad coaching.
Nope.
So, I mean, you're right. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I do believe that a program like Alabama is teaching those kids how to be more professional. And I also agree with you about there should be some sort of financial literacy program that the students go through, especially whether or not they're going to make money or not, a ridiculous amount of money, but they should understand, the money that they have is life changing, and literally you can live off the end. Like if somebody just sits them down, oh, you have $1 million in the bank. Here's how much you make in interest a month. Like, can you live off that? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
you can. Well, can
Yeah.
you live off half of that? Oh, okay, you can.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. And again, that's one of those things where I sit down and I look at, and in a lot of guys too, you sit down and you look and they come in, they're high draft picks, and they don't understand, hey, if it didn't work out your first place, it's okay to go somewhere else and sit and
Yeah.
learn and become a professional, and swallow your pride a little bit and say, hey, let me learn how. Maybe what I was doing before wasn't working. It was, in college you have one or two guys that are really on your level. You
Yeah.
get to the NFL, everybody was the man on their team.
Yeah.
In every major league sport,
Yeah.
the guy at the end of the bench was the guy. He was the guy for his team when he was in college. So, understanding that, hey, everything gets turned up a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so you might have to, hey, I may have to go from being a star to being a role player. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said it before also. Like in college, you were one of 11 elite athletes on the field or on your offense, right? And then in the NFL, you're just another elite player.
Yeah.
So you got to adapt to that for sure. We do need to pick this game, so I think the Jags. I mean, the line is Patriots by 6.5. Or I'm sorry, Patriots are 6.5 underdogs, so it's giving the Jags 6.5 points.
Mm.
And I don't know if I think we'll cover that. I think New England will cover that. I think it'll be a closer game. But the Jaguars have been over there since last week. They played in London last week. They've been there all week. We're probably landing now. The Patriots are probably landing now and gonna have to adjust in the next 24 hours. I just think the advantage is to the Jaguars because they decided to stay over there instead of coming back, and I think that's a huge advantage. So, yeah.
Mm.
And they've been over there before. We have not. This is our first time over there in London, so they've already won over there. Their experience, although they lost last week, I believe, in London. But yeah, I just don't see us being able to beat the Jaguars. But if Chet could talk, he would tell us what he thought. But what do you think, Jose? Who
Well,
in this game?
this is where I think I'm going to disagree with you.
Really?
And not, I think being there, staying there, getting used to the time and all that stuff helps. But I think that you're still the Jaguars,
Yeah.
and you still have to overcome whatever deficiencies you have. I think this is one where the Patriots like, hey, the pressure of the hometown fans and everybody in your ear, you're away from home, you can rely, nobody knows who you are, this, that, and the other, and there's fans all over the place. They're like Steeler fans. They're all over the place. So you're gonna, no matter where you're at, you see them. So it's, so being over there, you're like, hey, I'm just some guy, some big dude walking around here.
Yeah.
And I think, hey, they might get relaxed and comfortable and play a little better and play clean. And, the Jaguars are a team that's beatable. They have a chance that if they can get off to a good start, hey, we might feel good about ourselves and, pull off the upset. I think that I'm going to go with the upset. I think the Pats win this one.
You like the Pats to upset, huh? I'm gonna write
Yeah.
that down. I like where your head's at. I think you've kind of swayed me. I'm easily swayed. I'm a homer. Ramondre Stevenson is still a question mark. I think that you're right. Like, taking us out of the New England area. Maybe we'll refocus the team. Yeah. I still think they cover, and I think it'll be a close game. And I don't want to count on the Jaguars being the Jaguars.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I mean, but I'm just saying, I think, well, and because you don't have all the talking heads on TV, you don't have, you're in Europe, so you're not. I mean, you just don't have all the media pounding you day and night like you do back in the States, and so, you're over there and you can kind of take a deep breath and like, oh, okay, now we can just play football, and I don't have to listen to Stephen A. say the stupidest things or listen to some of these guys, say nonsense. What's that? Nick Wright? He's that guy. He's just irritating. He's like a white version of Stephen A. And he definitely has his homer teams that he loves. So,
Yeah,
I just,
he loves the Chiefs, man. Don't be hating
you
on
know,
Nick Wright.
I mean,
He
where
is the
was
guy that looks like he has bad breath. Like I don't
he's
know.
he's the guy that looks like he hasn't showered in like 4 days. He looks like he would have been perfect fit for like Woodstock, like a hipster. Just you know,
Yeah.
he says outrageous things. He says, and he is a guy who is in the moment. He sits down and I hate people who are like, oh, well, this stat, that stat, this stat, that stat. The only stat that matters is winning.
Yeah.
The only stat that matters, do you move the needle? Do you change the game? Do people sit down and look at you and go, that guy revolutionized the game? You look at the Steelers in the 70s, they brought weightlifting and all that stuff into the NFL more. Them in Nebraska brought weightlifting into the center for, hey, we need a better weight training system.
Yeah.
And then the 80s came with the 49ers and the West Coast offense. And oh, by the way, I hate that the West Coast offense and Bill Walsh don't get any love for creating that dual threat back. The guy who can run the football, but he can catch the football.
Roger Craig.
Roger Craig was a thousand guy. Bill Rings was doing that his thing. They were throwing the football to their backs before it was cool. You look at Bill Rings, Roger Craig and Ricky Waters, 5 Super Bowl later, and these guys were dual threat, guys, but nobody talks about them. Nobody says, because they want to act like it's new, and it's not. It was something that the 49ers brought into it.
Yeah.
And so you watch them revolutionize the game.
Yeah.
You sit down and I look at these guys and a lot of the stuff, but football is still the football. You have to win the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And all your great teams win the line. Patrick Mahomes figured that out. I don't need Tyreek Hill. What I need is a left tackle that can keep my ass upright.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Hill's in Miami, and 2 Super Bowls later, guess what? I don't need you. I don't need that guy that can run a 4.2 40. I need guys, one, that can catch. Two, I need linemen who can keep me upright.
Yeah.
And if they can keep him upright, and Patrick Mahomes proved it, and Tom Brady proved it, all the great ones had great linemen. You look at those Cowboys teams when they went through Super Bowls, that offensive line was ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah.
It was, and if Jerry Jones wasn't an idiot and would have kept Jimmy Johnson, they probably would have won 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah, no,
Jimmy Johnson had that. That was a juggernaut. That dude had it. And Jerry Jones, he's still searching for it to this day. So, Tyreek's that nice Ferrari that sits in your garage, but you need that pickup truck to get the work done.
Yeah, since we're on the subject of the Cowboys, I mean, man, I wanna get into the Cowboys and all the scrutiny that they're under, and also I want to start by saying I follow the Cowboys because of everybody here in Texas that I'm friends with, and that I want good things to happen for them, but nothing good is going to come while Jerry Jones is still the owner, operator, CEO, GM, all the hats that he wears, because he is the Joe Biden of NFL owners. Like, he is just he's taking everything that he's built and he's ruining it by doing things like, and this is an example, a very recent example, signing his best receiver, signing his quarterback this late in the season, and saving $20 million. What does that $20 million do you right freaking now? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And this is where like with Dak, you should have just not signed him. You said, you know what, you're gonna have to do like Joe Flacco and prove us you deserve the money. Go win us a Super Bowl and you'll get paid. If not, we'll go find the next guy.
Yes, I agree.
Same with CeeDee Lamb. Again, CeeDee Lamb, great player, but if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm gonna say I like CeeDee Lamb, but let's bring in a damn offensive tackle. Let's bring in some. We could have kept Tyron Smith for less money and had a halfway decent, left tackle. Let's bring somebody in that can protect me. I need to be protected
Yeah.
because if I have 2 seconds to throw versus 4 seconds to throw, 4 seconds, that's a huge difference. So guess what? If that line can block and give me space he's athletic enough that he can get first down for the. So if you can just keep me upright and give me little holes to step up in and move around in the pocket instead of getting the hell beat out of me, well, my receivers are eventually going to get open.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Brady was throwing to Wes Welker and all the Amendola and all these guys that they're not Hall of Famers.
There were no
But he made
names
him,
before that. No one even knew who they were before
but he
Tom Brady
made
threw the ball to him.
but he made them look
Yeah.
good because he had plenty of time to throw.
Yeah.
And so you sit down and you go and you look and you're like, if I'm Dak, I'm like, I don't want CeeDee Lamb. I draft me a receiver, but get me some linemen or draft me some linemen. So, let's go heavy in the draft on line so that we can protect us and keep me upright. You know what I mean? Like something's got to give.
I like that, there was, two of the more prominent figures in recent memory for the Cowboys have come out this week and said some fairly controversial comments about the Cowboys and the team. Michael Irvin called the defense soft, and Troy Aikman said that the route running looks lazy was his exact quote. He didn't say that it was any one receiver. He just said that the route running looks very lazy. And I think that's a sign of, like, one, how bad things are, because they're still in connection with things that are going on with the Cowboys. So they know the ins and outs and what's going on internally. But for them to come out and use their platform and actually say that, and for it to be, on a national news, stream, like that's saying something about the state of affairs in that building for sure, and with the team. So
yeah, well, I think Cowboy fans in general understand that the problem is Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
His ego fired Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
Hired Barry Switzer, who ran it into the ground.
Yeah.
And again, in '95, if it wouldn't be for Neil Donald, basically he was the best player for the Cowboys, and that was the Steelers quarterback because he kept throwing the ball to Larry Brown. I don't know if Larry Brown said, "Hey, I'll give you half of my check" or whatever, but because Dion was there. Dion got beat by Yancey Thigpen on a touchdown pass. Dion's a great deep cover guy, but he wasn't a good route runner. Always got Dion.
Yeah.
So, but Neil Donald panicked, threw horrible. But Larry Brown was literally sitting there eating the sandwich, going, "Oh crap! They threw me the ball."
Yeah.
If you watch the plays, the dude's literally covered nobody.
Yeah.
Ball just goes to him. But
Thrown to him. Yeah.
Barry Switzer was just trash. He was a trash coach, but he was a guy Jerry Jones could control. He was the guy that, hey, you're going to listen to me. I'm the boss, and I'm going to take all the credit. And you sit down and you look, and they won that Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson's team. And then it went downhill quickly. Then you go and you sit down and you look, and Jerry Jones over the years hired Bill Parcells. Parcells started building it back up. And guess what? Jerry Jones, we can't get along with you. He got rid of Bill Parcells. He's constantly in flux. Mike McCarthy wins 12 games, but he's looking over his shoulder for Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Why? Because Jerry Jones is that guy. He'd rather win the media. He'd rather win the news than win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be relevant. He wants to be, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Another problem is there's got to be somebody, and it has to be a family member, because that's all that there is in the organization. But somebody's got to take the keys from him. Just like it's like somebody's escorting him to the news conferences and everything, just like Joe Biden is escorted to the podium, and like he's walked everywhere and told where to go, and like he can still be that person, but somebody needs to take the keys from him and start driving for him, because it's like he needs to figure out a strategy, an exit strategy, right? Like Kobe Bryant had a good exit strategy. Like he decided, won last year and made it like a farewell tour, and like which was the first of its kind in the NBA. But
Yeah.
Jerry Jones needs to figure out an exit strategy and also allow Stephen Jones to step in and hey, I'll do everything but the news conferences. Jerry Jones, you can continue to do
the problem with Jerry Jones doing the news conferences. Two problems with Jerry Jones, and this was with everybody after Jimmy Johnson. Players they can skip the head coach and go to Jerry Jones, and then it trickles back down. So that undermines the coach all the time. Yeah. Two, Jerry Jones wants, when you think of the Cowboys, he wants it to think of him. When they were winning Super Bowls, nobody thought about Jerry Jones. He was just the owner. They thought about Jimmy Johnson. They thought about Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. They thought about, those amazing defensive players. They Woodson at safety. They thought about the team.
Yeah.
And since those years, it's, everything is Jerry Jones this, Jerry Jones that. Why is Jerry Jones doing post-game conferences? What other owner goes down after a game and is talking to the press?
Yeah.
Nobody.
No,
it's his ego. His ego is so massive.
Yeah, he doesn't coach and he doesn't play, so he can't really affect the game. He shouldn't be commenting on it, on the outcome of the game, the things that happened during the game, because he wasn't on the sidelines. He shouldn't be doing that. It does more harm to the team and the continuity of the team, because like you said, it makes it feel like he's in charge, and that's the coach's job. The coach is supposed to coach and manage the players, and if you're stepping in and making statements, it feels like, again, they have a direct line. Line to you if they want.
Yeah, and it was funny because this week, I guess one of the guys he hired for media asked him a tough question, and he didn't like it. He's like, "Why? I'm paying you. You're supposed to." He basically wants you to sugarcoat it for him.
Yeah.
You're paying me to report on the Cowboys. Well, I'm going to ask you what the fans want to know. Yeah. Well, guess what? Now you don't want to answer that question. Now you don't want to hear that question. Well, that's your problem. Yeah. You live in this glass house. Somebody threw a stone. Your house fell apart, and you're upset. Well, if you're you can't be in the forefront and then go, well, I don't want to take the bullets. I'm not going to go over into battle and say, hey, I don't want to take any of the bullets, but I want all the glory. You're either going to be in the front leading the way or you're not.
Yeah.
And so Jerry Jones, like I said, but again, it was with Tony Romo. Tony Romo was solid quarterback, put great numbers, but was not great in the big moments.
Yeah.
Two playoff wins. You go back and you look, but Jerry Jones had a great relationship with him. He paid him, treated him like a son. He was always, and Tony Romo, he was like, I was good. I'm not saying I wasn't a good quarterback. I put up a great number. I was solid, but were you clutch? Did you do it when it mattered?
Yeah.
And that's where, that's what separates the good from the great. Yeah. Because you got to be able to, you have to have, and I believe you have to have a signature play. If you want to, you have to have signature plays to be a Hall of Famer. That's why I don't agree with a lot of these guys getting in. I don't agree with Terrell Owens getting in. He was a cancer to every team he went to. He basically was the reason the Eagles fired Andy Reid, which is idiotic. But his thing with Donald McNabb and Andy Reid, and that imploded that whole Eagles. That was the worst thing the Eagles did.
Yeah.
But he's in the Hall of Fame ahead of guys like Hines Ward, who, well, I know I'm on the Steelers. We're going to run the ball with the bus, but I'm going to get out there. I'm going to block. I'm going to be the best damn blocker for this guy. And oh, by the way, I'm a Super Bowl MVP and I hold every Steeler record receiving. But I'm not a Hall of Famer. But this guy, I'm a 2-time Super Bowl champion. But this guy is in the Hall of Fame who was a cancer who played for like 9 different teams. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. Terrell Davis is different he's kind of that Gale Sayers and he made a huge difference for John Elway. So yeah, I can see it. I can see why he's in. I thought Andre Reed getting in was a good thing, but come on. Why is Andre Reed waiting so long? But a clown like Terrell Owens is in there.
Yeah.
And I hate the people, stats that one, the game changed. We threw the ball more now than he did. The way the game is played is totally different. We throw the ball now more. 2, if you go by stats, Vinny Testaverde should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because Vinny Testaverde is in the top 10 in passing yards, touchdowns, got all the numbers you want, but he wasn't a winner. couldn't perform in the biggest moments. But if you go statistically speaking, if you just simply go off stats, he could be a Hall of Famer. He has an argument.
Yeah. He also had longevity. He played a long time.
Yeah.
So.
But again, but again, when you simply go to stats, how many 300-yard games did he have? How many multiple 2-touchdown games did he have?
Well, that's also why they're voted in too. They're voted in, and they're voted in by the players that are already there. So
yeah, I mean, I
imagine that's supposed to be part of the criteria. Is like,
Well, I mean, I mean, I know some of it's the players voted in. I know, but I just look at it and I get it, but I want it to be the Hall of Fame, not you were the greatest players, not the Hall of Pretty Good. And I think baseball. I love that baseball. Hey, only one guy's good enough this year.
Yeah,
that's it. And baseball, like we're not the Hall of Very Good. We're the Hall of Fame. These are the greatest players ever.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things I think the other Hall of Fames kind of fall short on. So,
Yeah. All right, we're done talking about the Cowboys, at least for now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Steelers, man.
That's a
Steelers
tough
and
one.
Jets, right?
Yeah. Aaron. You got Aaron this week.
Yeah. So what, like right now, do you know who is starting?
From George Pickens and Russell Wilson's mouth, you're going to think it's Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Justin Fields saying, "Hey, I didn't play good enough, to keep my job," is telling you, yeah, it's probably going to be Russell Wilson. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly Davante Adams gels with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Because, that was Aaron Rodgers' complaint. I don't have an elite receiver. Well, we'll see now. But you might want to tell your offensive line to block TJ Watt because he's going to be in your grill all night.
Yep.
But I look at that game and it's going to be an interesting game. Again, we played great against the Raiders. We had the running game going. Justin Fields' legs got us going. We were so balanced. It looked great. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I like the Steelers, but again, Mike Tomlin, I don't understand his thought process sometimes. Making that change with Justin Fields, I think this wouldn't be the week. I thought they should have just kept the continuity rolling.
Yeah.
But I get where he's coming from. You want to see what you got with Russell Wilson. It's too early in the season, so.
Yeah, I think that the game's interesting. Like you said, if he gels with Davante like almost immediately, then it's going to be a challenge for the Steelers. I don't think he has to gel entirely. I think they'll automatically have a good rapport inside the red zone, so that'll automatically be an advantage for them. Now, that doesn't mean that the defense that they're going up against them isn't really good in the red zone either. So
yeah, that's the thing. You sit down, and again, it's when Aaron Rodgers is uncomfortable, he doesn't play well. But Aaron Rodgers would, he'd say, "Hey, last week I was getting beat up, getting hit left and right." I even it didn't matter if my receivers were open because I was too busy running for my life or getting drilled into the turf.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is I think it's nice that he got Davante Adams, and if they get in a red zone, it makes it definitely more interesting for him. But now you got to get to the red zone, and boy, I will tell you, this is not the defense to sit down and think, oh, I'm just going to light it up now because I got this guy, So TJ Watt plays like he normally does, and they get that push, and you got Minka back there, and you got Joey Porter Jr. Porter back there playing corner, and he always plays against those top receivers. So it'll be Porter and Davante Adams if he's out there. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. I don't agree with the change in quarterback right now. If they do go in the direction of Russell Wilson, I don't think he's earned anything. He had a couple weeks of or 1 week of practice, right? Like
I mean, really, this was his first week of full go and everything. you know, he's going to be rusty. He's going to be, and he's not the athlete. I mean, I tell you, I like Justin Fields in that what he doesn't get through the air, he gets with his legs. So if he throws for 160, 70 yards, but he's getting you 70 yards rushing, well, now you're at 240.
Yeah.
So if he throws for 200 yards and now he's running for 60, and he's throwing for the touchdown, running for a touchdown, still 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So why do you care? I think it helps. I think the offensive line in general got used to blocking for him.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, we know we just got to get him a crease. I don't necessarily have to block my guy perfectly. I just have to make sure that there's an escape hole.
Yeah.
And now you have Russell Wilson, who is a decent athlete, but he's not the same athlete. He's not Justin Fields. When they turns on the Jets, it's a race. So, he keeps defensive honest. Now is Russell Wilson a better thrower of the football? Maybe. But I think Justin Fields was starting to look really good. He started to develop, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, New York's or Steelers are a 2-point underdog according to ESPN bet.
Yeah,
and it's at where's the game? Is it in?
I think it's in New York.
Oh, it's in Pittsburgh.
Is it? Oh, is it in Pittsburgh?
Aris. Akron.
Yeah, it used to be
Acrisure Stadium.
I don't know, some crazy name. I don't know.
Yeah.
Used to be Heinz Field, the ketchup bottle, but
Yeah. It's in
changed
Pittsburgh. I was just trying to pronounce the name.
That's about as good as I would get it. So that's about as good as I would get it. They changed that this year, but I don't know. It's I could see why they're the underdog because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
But I also think Justin Fields is young and he's got a lot of room to grow. Now, there is speculation out there that they're not playing him because if he takes 50% of the snaps, the 6th round pick turns into a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
So that may be a business deal. They may be like, hey, we can endure a couple of losses or some ugly play, but save us our draft pick. So I don't know. There's a whole lot of things that could be. I was reading about that today, and they were talking about. So.
Oh yeah.
But
so that's a stipulation on his contract.
Yeah. So with the Bear, when they made the trade, if he takes 51% of the snaps, the pick goes from 6 to 4. Yeah. So that was part of the trade. So are they playing that game? I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. But I think
they are, otherwise they wouldn't be considering this.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it could be. Because you got Russell Wilson for $1 million. I mean, Denver's foot the bill for him, so you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, Denver's paying him $34 million to play for the Steelers.
Yeah, so I mean, so what does that say about Russell Wilson? I'm paying you that much money to get the hell out of town.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm looking at thinking why if we just gave the ball to Marshawn Lynch, we'd have 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Instead of 1. But. Russ throws a great deep ball. I think George Pickens will like that. I think that will make him happy. But the lack of mobility versus Justin Fields, that offensive line is going to have to be a little bit better than it's normally been.
Do you think that they would? Let's say they are going with the contractual obligation, right? And they're trying to not turn that 6 into a 4th. Do you think they kind of platoon the quarterback position and give Russell a couple series and then bring Justin in for a couple series and go back and forth, or do you think it'll be a game?
I will tell you this: I can definitely see them letting Russ go from 20 to 20, and then when you get in this red zone, especially inside the 10, well, now you put a package together for Justin Fields where it's run pass options, zone read, forcing the defense to go, oh crap, now we got to defend his legs too. Yeah. And so that definitely, you can definitely put a package in there with him. And honestly, you can see him, hey, put 2 quarterbacks in because Justin Fields is a good athlete. You throw the ball out there and let him out in space, he can run. but then he can catch you behind this line of scrimmage. You get a double pass going. There's a lot of things you can do with him, which should definitely be interesting. So
Yeah.
I don't think he totally goes away. I just think that he kind of, becomes this slash type quarterback instead of the quarterback.
Yeah, Cordell Stewart, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Little
Cordell Stewart,
slash.
if he stayed slash, he might have still been in the league.
Yeah,
Could have played longer,
You're
but he
right.
wanted to
Did
be a
he play for
quarterback.
anybody but Pittsburgh?
He left. He played for a couple different teams, but didn't work out. Didn't. I know he played for the Ravens for a little bit, but he wanted to prove to everybody he could throw the football.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of these guys fail. You got here because you were an athlete, a dual threat athlete. Don't give that part of you up. Don't stop, because that's part of your greatness. I think when the day Kyler Murray stopped running, the day he stops being great. I love Kyler Murray. He just, and again, he's in a team that perpetually mismanages careers. And they've had a couple coaches do well there, but then they fired him quickly and didn't stay the course with them. They went to a Super Bowl and then fired a coach 2 years later.
Yeah.
You went to the Super Bowl, so.
He went to the Bears and then went to the Ravens after that. He was
Yeah.
done in 2005.
Yeah, I mean, but you sit down and you look. I mean, you look at guy. I mean, when Arizona went to the Super Bowl, a couple years later, you want to fire the coach. Like, dude, you got to stay the course. You gotta, you're Arizona. You don't get to be all so uppity that, hey, we have a good coach, we're going to get rid of him. But that's why they're Arizona and they're not the Steelers, the Patriots, or any of these really, really good teams, because they don't have that longevity. Kansas City, like they were probably like jumping out of their seats when they got Andy Reid. Like, oh my God, so people in Philadelphia forgot what Andy Reid inherited in Philadelphia.
Well, it's
because it was
crazy
awful.
that they went to the Super Bowl and fired Andy Reid. The Eagles did. Then Doug Peterson wins a Super Bowl and they fire him. Now, they might have done the right thing. He might not be the coach that everybody thinks he is.
But did they upgrade the position?
Yeah.
Is what they got now better than what they had?
I would.
He's out there yelling at fans. I don't know.
Yeah.
He looks like he's starting to crack under the pressure too. But I mean, you look at Andy Reid. That dude went to 5 NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl. Before that, you had Rich Kotite and these other coaches.
Yeah.
Buddy Ryan was great. Randall was great when he was able to be Randall, and then Kotite came in. Randall got hurt, and the Eagles went.
Yeah.
So, but again, that's why. Andy Reid's a genius, and then Andy Reid's like, oh, I'm in Kansas City now. They let him build his team the way he wants, and I'm sure they talk. Hey, who do you think we need to keep?
Yeah.
And he's really smart about it. I like Andy Reid was a great coach.
Yeah,
so
he is an amazing.
But you sit down and you look, it's like, oh, the Steelers. I look and I'm. That game to me is a toss up. I look at Aaron Rodgers is looking forward to it, but we'll see. We'll see. I think if I'm a Jets, I'd want to get my running game going and take the pressure off. Take the pressure off Aaron Rodgers, because I just don't feel like because if Russell Wilson is the starter, he's going to be rusty and he's going to be slow out the gate.
Yeah.
So you need to get out fast, pound, wear that defense out, so the second half you can hit your big plays.
Yeah, that's a good strategy for sure. I think Steelers come out with the win though. That they just grind it out and do what needs to be done to win. It's not flashy. I don't think Russell Wilson will be flashy in his first start in 2 years, almost 2 years. So the Steelers are an anomaly because the last 5 years they've spent the most money on the defensive side of the ball when everyone else is going in the opposite direction and spending all that money on the offensive side of the ball. So
and that's why Tomlin doesn't have a losing record, because they stay competitive. Right? They've come to the realization, I think, and again, this is one of those things that I like Justin Fields in that he's 25, he's developing. They got to work on his touch a little bit, but I think between that and you say, hey, Justin Fields is going to ask you for the bank. He's going to be like, look, I just want to be here, so just pay me reasonably, and let's build this team. Let's get some offensive linemen around me, let's keep Najee. Let's, and I think he's self-aware enough to know when they talked to him about the benching, he was so good about it, so professional, so, and I think, wow, this is a guy at this age, he could have been pouting, he could have been, and instead he's just being so classy. And I think he's going to endear himself to the city. And so I think, it's like Baker Mayfield was to Cleveland. He fit Cleveland because he was a gritty, grinded out blue collar guy. He got hurt, played hurt. He shouldn't have played when he was hurt, but he did. But look at Baker Mayfield now, and I'm sure Cleveland was like, man, we paid Deshaun Watson how much money, and we could have had Baker for a third of that. Yeah. And you look at the weapons that he's had and that's in Cleveland. And honestly, if I was Aaron Rodgers or one of these others, dude, we need to start raping Cleveland. They got Nick Chubb sitting over there. They got that tight end sitting over there. They've got some really good skill players that Deshaun Watson can't hit. Let's make offers and say, hey, let's get some of these guys here. So those guys will be happy. They'll go somewhere and say, hey, I got a chance to win, and they'll come revitalized.
I mean, they offloaded their first piece. They offloaded Amari Cooper to the Bills, who,
yeah.
I don't know if you saw the numbers, but I'll give them to you anyway. So the Bills received Amari Cooper and a 6th-round draft pick, and they gave Cleveland a 3rd-round pick and a 7th-round pick in 2026. Now, on top of that, Amari Cooper and the Cleveland Browns at the beginning of the year restructured his contract and gave essentially 98% of his salary for the year as a signing bonus. So they already paid for that. So he hits the cap for the Bills this year at $1.21 million.
Now, that's a good deal.
Absolutely. When you take those two things into consideration, the compensation, what did they give up? They gave up a 3rd and a 6th for Amari Cooper, and you only pay him. Now, you might look at it as a short-term lease, but why was there not more teams involved in that? Because literally Buffalo only had 3-point-something million on their cap, so that was the only wide receiver that they could afford.
But you have to ask yourself, Amari Cooper probably said, I want to play 1, 2, or 3. And if it ain't one of these 3 places, I ain't going.
Yeah.
So he's going to Buffalo. Buffalo they need a good running game. They need to get that. Well, really just get their line up to speed. Because Josh Allen takes too many hits, but they need to get that running game going. They need to be able to take that pressure off him, where all he has to do is worry about throwing the football and handing it off.
Yeah.
But now he has a legitimate number 1 receiver to go with those other guys who are pretty solid. That's scary because now, we got Cooper. We can score some points the same, keep up with the Chiefs. So when you're with the Bills, the Bills are being built to beat the Chiefs. They're not being built to beat. We just want to get the playoffs, and then we want to make our shot at the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So it's a great deal for Buffalo, and it's a good deal because if Cooper doesn't pan out, it doesn't going to cost you much next year. You know what I mean? So if you're Buffalo, it's a win-win. And Amari, I think most players, especially guys like Amari Cooper, who've been losing, they get to a team where they're winning, they'll take a little less to stay where they're winning. They'll sit down and go, hey, I want to win a Super Bowl because I want to at least play in a Super Bowl because that means something.
Yeah.
And you look at a guy like Myles Garrett, it wouldn't surprise me if Myles Garrett by the end of the year is like, hey, I want out of this dumpster fire. You need to send me somewhere because I want to play in the Super Bowl. He shouldn't have been Defensive Player of the Year last year. TJ Watt should have. I know I'm a homer saying that, but TJ Watt had better statistics, better numbers. But Myles Garrett is a beast, but he's a guy who you're looking at. If I'm in Cleveland, I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I'm not going to sniff the playoffs, and we're stuck with this clown at quarterback for 2 years. So I'm not going to sniff it for the next 3 years. So do I sit here and wait, or do I say, hey, trade me, to Detroit, trade me to, trade me to Pittsburgh, trade me somewhere where I got a shot at least to get into playoffs. You know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of those guys start going. And Joku's another one, a tight end. That dude's a beast.
Yeah. No,
That's a severe waste of talent.
Yeah, I think Cooper was the first of many chips that are going to be wagered and moved for draft compensation or any kind of compensation that they can get, because
Oh
they
yeah,
have a lot of talent, but they're not going anywhere, and they can't change anything about Deshaun Watson until
no,
he's attractive to somebody else. And
you know it's crazy. You know, it's crazy is they ran Baker Mayfield and Joe Flacco out, and look at those two guys.
Yeah.
And you're like, so we ran these two guys out who are leading teams who are making look like they're gonna make playoff runs.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Baker Mayfield was in the playoffs and won a playoff game last year for this guy.
Yeah.
You know, and oh, by the way, he's got another case might be coming up for sexual harassment. So, like, good Lord, stop getting massages, dude.
Yeah. My insiders say that there is potentially a stipulation with this new with this new litigation, with the new person that's come forward to prosecute. There's something within the contract. You know, they Cleveland essentially understood he was, you know, the 20 some odd women, however many it was.
Yeah.
Not to downplay it. It's a serious issue, but
Yeah.
however many there were at the time that they knew about it, basically the contract states that, you know, it's still guaranteed as long as
there's no more.
as long as no one else comes forward in the time frame of the contract and is in addition to that. So supposedly there's something within the contract that states if he's found guilty of whatever's going on with this new one, that there's an out for them in the contract.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I mean, I just didn't understand it altogether. You had a really great team. You had a young quarterback who won you a playoff game, did some good things, and you knew he was hurt. So let's let him heal.
Yeah.
You know, you bring Joe Flacco in last year, and he plays well, gets you. You know, it makes a nice little run, and instead of saying, "Hey, let's hold on to this guy," you just let him go. Yeah. But that's Cleveland. That's Cleveland.
Yep. They couldn't
in a nutshell. You know, they've been like that. I mean, Cleveland's the same team that fired Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Enough said. You know what I mean? They're the team that got rid of Bernie Kosar when they were this close to going to the Super Bowl like 3 times. You know, it's Cleveland. It's what they do. It's like we find a way to mess it up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What did you think about the? I think both the moves to get Cooper and to get Adams, both of those two teams. It was ironic that they both played against each other in the Monday night game, and then they both made moves.
Yeah.
But I think you made a statement that, you know, Buffalo, they're trying to get assets or become the team that can dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's kudos to them for thinking that far ahead, you know, and like being progressive in that nature. I also think that that's the reason why anybody in the AFC is making a move right now, because they're projecting ahead and they want to be able to meet Kansas City, and not just meet them, beat them.
But you gotta score.
Yeah.
Because that's what Kansas City does. Unless you can get to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And beat him up, like in that one Super Bowl when he lost. You know, they Tampa beat him up. You know, Sue and that defense was, you know, Keith Talib was knocking people down, and you know they were hitting him on every play. Yeah, I mean that's, unless you can do that, you know, it's you're pretty much going to need to score, and so Buffalo's defense is not locking anybody down. You know, if Buffalo had Pittsburgh's defense to go with Josh Allen's offense, oh boy, look out! Then it would be scary, because that would be, oof. But you know, Kansas City knows that. I think, you know, you sit down, but I'm with you. It's ironic they played on Monday night and then boom, they both made moves, but the moves make sense.
Oh, absolutely. Again, knowing now what we know about the Cooper deal, like again, you give up a third and a seventh, or a third and a seventh, and you only pay the dude $1.2 million. And again, it's a short-term lease. Hopefully, you re-sign him, and hopefully, he'll want to. He'll want to be in a winning culture and want to be willing to take less. I probably it's probably more along the lines of like what you said, where Cooper said he would go to however many.
Oh yeah,
Where was Kansas City in on this deal?
Well, I mean, but Kansas City is in a situation where they don't want they got guys and they're sitting down there like, do we bring Amari Cooper in and then everybody else, somebody's got to go because you got a full wide receiver.
Yeah,
Nobody's hurt. So who do you get rid of? And Patrick Mahomes is comfortable with him. Because I'm sure Cooper would have loved to go to Kansas City. I mean, I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to, because then your chances of going to Super Bowl go all the way up. But Kansas City, that's a good question. I would like to know. But again,
Rashee Rice is out. He's on IR. Marquise Brown is on IR. Those are supposed to be their top two wide receivers. They're down to like Juju Smith-Schuster, who they signed before the season started and we released the Patriots.
Yeah, but what does Juju
down to him as the second string, and their rookie Worthy is now their first.
But what does Juju Smith-Schuster?
Look at the depth chart, though.
What does Smith-Schuster bring to the game?
A veteran presence, he's
veteran presence.
Good hands.
When you need that catch on third down to get the first down, he's there. He's good in the red zone. That's all Patrick Mahomes wants. He doesn't want his days of hitting home runs like he used to go over the top of Tyreek Hill. He doesn't want to do that anymore. He's going to sit down and he's going to hit you to the short to mid range and pick you apart and drive down the field. I mean, and because of his legs, he's able to move around, get out of the pocket, and you have to respect his speed, because if not, he's going to run for first down. So again, that goes back to him being such a great athlete. And so does Patrick Mahomes say, hey, I don't, he doesn't necessarily need that elite guy. It's, again, it goes back to, as much as I hate to say it, Tom Brady. I don't need the elite guy. I need the reliable guy. I know that this guy's going to be where I need him to be, when I need him to be, when I move around.
So their wide receiver depth chart is Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Juju Smith, Sky Moore, and McCole Hardman.
Yeah, but I mean,
Cooper is like a hand.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think he's a great player, but do you want to give up assets when you don't need to? You still have you're still the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and they're.
Do you want to give up picks for a guy that you're going to rent?
Well, that's probably where they were going to give up. And again, maybe Cooper didn't want to go to Kansas City. Yeah. Maybe that wasn't.
And maybe Cooper may be of the Ric Flair. To be the man, you got to beat the man. So I want to go to Buffalo and beat the man, so I can say, look, I was the reason that put Buffalo over the top to take out Kansas City. You never know. I mean, they're athletes. There are egos. They do have some ego to them. So you have to be at that level. You have to have a bit of an ego. You have to believe that you're better than everybody else. So he may have said, hey, you know what? I want to go here, team up with this guy who I know I'll never have to worry about him underthrowing me. The dude's got to catch.
You need to be a jet flying, limousine riding, Rolex wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, woo, son of a gun.
So I mean, he may say, hey, let me go, maybe go line up with this guy and we'll make our run. I mean, I don't blame him. I can't say to blame him. I would have liked to see the Steelers trade George Pickens straight up for him. I think that would have been a great trade. But again, who knows? I mean, Pickens definitely would have been not, but he definitely would have been on social media unhappy then. But
I don't think Cleveland wasn't going to trade him. That's in their division, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cleveland wasn't going to. Well, it shouldn't. Cleveland does Cleveland things, right? That
very
makes
true.
So Cleveland, so
yeah. Well,
really good for the Steelers. I hope that was the spot that Cooper wanted to go, or
well, I'm sure that he's not upset about it. I mean, the this is a perennial play. They're year in, year out. They're in the playoff.
It's just,
and they've been close to beating the Chiefs in the playoffs. Boy, it's heartbreak for those guys.
It's just crazy again because you look at that deal and like financially, that was the only that's the only way that the Bills could afford him was at that price, and to get that guy at that price, like I feel like the compensation that Cleveland wanted to get that because that is the perfect scenario for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like I would think that they would have got more compensation. And again, maybe those doesn't say they're conditional, but I'm sure that they can.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they can change.
I mean, if they're conditional picks, that definitely would help because you put in incentives. That again, that's where with Justin Fields, it's conditional. So the better he plays, the more snaps he takes, the better it is for the Bears.
Yeah.
And so you sit down, it's like, there's a lot of things written in there, and Amari Cooper, I'm sure he's happy. I'm sure, he was sad to leave some of his teammates. Like, hey, dude, I wish I could take you with me, but I'm with you. I think he's the first of many to start being the exit, try to make that exit. Say, I want out. I just want out because this ownership, this GM, this is a hot mess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. All right, what do we got next? NFL. Did you watch the starting five?
Oh, I did not. No.
No. Well, we don't need.
I was telling Chet I knew it's down there. You say you were talking about Anthony Edwards. I probably wouldn't have liked it anyway because he's a loud mouth.
I think we're looking at it, and I think that we think the character arc is gonna, he's gonna be like the bad guy, like where they're portraying him because he is outspoken and all that. They're portraying him as like the heel, so to speak.
Well, I mean, this is a guy that say they have more skill now, but they had to create the gather step.
Yeah.
For the players now, so they wouldn't travel. Oh, well, now you have a gather step. There was no gather step in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
But these guys, they walk, they carry. There's literally videos of Russell Westbrook taking like 5 steps holding the ball. There's no dribbling at all. LeBron palming the ball, walking with it. It's insane. The stuff they get with LeBron falling down. I mean, he plays basketball like a European soccer player. He constantly flop. Oh, you would think he was getting his kneecap decapitated, arm broken, and then you watch the video and you're like, dude, you didn't even get touched.
Yeah.
Come on. You're 6'9", 260, all roided up, and I thought it was funny that they tested Steph Curry, the 2 skinniest guys on the Olympic team, and so that LeBron could, even Steph Curry should have been the MVP of the Olympics, but they gave it to LeBron, but they didn't test the guy who's 40 some years old and looks like, a house. They tested Steph Curry, the guy that looks like he could be on a fucking, Ethiopia. Hey, we need some money to feed the hungry, guy. Come on.
I thought all the athletes were tested.
No, they only test 2 after each game, 2 or 3. And so they took Steph Curry and like some other guy I forget who it was, but he was real skinny. I'm like, you took the 2 skinniest guys and the guys that are out there that look like they're on roids.
Probably Derek White or somebody.
And it's funny because you sit down and you look, it's like, everybody knows LeBron's he's either on testosterone, some of that cream and clear, like, Barry Bonds was. He's on something because you don't get bigger, stronger, and grow your hair back when you get older, unless you're on the juice. I mean, he was going bald in his mid-20s. Early 30s.
His money can buy anything, but that doesn't mean his hair, whatever's growing back, his hair follicles is.
I'm just saying, this guy. I mean, you look at him. I mean, come on, and that's why I laugh at these athletes. Like, dude, you should be kissing Michael Jordan's feet. You should be kissing Magic, Bird, Michael Jordan's feet, because before, guys weren't even making $1 million before those guys. And it was those guys who brought the NBA to the limelight. Their skill, Dominic Wilkins and Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon and Patrick, all those guys would kill nowadays without the handshake. I watched a video today of LeBron playing Monty Williams, 50-year-old, and they allowed Monty Williams to hand check him. Couldn't score. He airballed. He was crying. Oh my God! Oh, he fell. Oh. Well, guess what? That's how the game was played. But you're crying. You're 6'9", 260. You couldn't push a 50-year-old guy around.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And if that's your GOAT, come on. Come on, dude. I'm telling you, Steph Curry would be Del Curry. I like Steph Curry. I honestly, Steph Curry could say, hey, I got 4 rings. And I got 2 of them. I was 2-1 against you in the finals.
Yeah.
Before Kevin Durant came.
Yeah.
So guess what? And oh, by the way, if Steph Curry hangs around for 20 years, he's going to destroy LeBron's scoring record.
We'll see.
Come on, man. If Steph Curry, and I played with Draymond the douchebag Green, I mean, he's a poor man's Dennis Rodman. Klay Thompson was a great player, but I mean, who else was he playing with?
Yeah.
And if Bogut doesn't blow his knee out and Andre Iguodala's back doesn't go out when that series where Cleveland comes back, and oh, by the way, Draymond Green gets suspended for a game because he's an idiot. That was a perfect storm for Cleveland. But you think about Bogut, they were up 3-1. Bogut's knee goes out. Andre Iguodala's back goes out. And those are the 2 guys that were LeBron was just basically shutting LeBron down. And then those guys go out and he starts getting better. And then Draymond Green gets kicked out. The only other guy that could defend him.
Hey, LeBron baited him. That's the old bait and hook.
Well, I'm not mad at LeBron. I'm saying Draymond Green's an idiot because he should have just shut his mouth and played basketball. But the fact that Iguodala's back and Bogut's knee both gave out, those were huge, and people don't talk about it. Yeah. And oh, by the way, you play with Kyrie and Kevin Love, and you got all these all-stars around you, but you're saying you don't have enough help. Come on. J.R. Smith was an all-star. Not enough help. When you don't win, it's not enough help. When you win, it's because
that dude was a knucklehead, though. J.R. Smith, he didn't even know if they had timeouts, didn't know which direction his hoop was in the final fucking 20 seconds.
But here's the question. Whose fault is that?
No.
Do you think that Michael Jordan would have allowed that to happen?
I don't know.
Do you think what would Michael have done to him? I will tell you this. There's no video of anybody ever call Michael Jordan a bitch during a timeout in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Mario Chalmers, LeBron's teammate, was told him to stop acting like a bitch and start playing basketball. You're supposed to be the best player on the planet. And then LeBron jumps up and gets all mad. Nobody respects him. Nobody's out there. You don't see kids around, I want LeBron's shoes. I'm going to rob somebody for LeBron's shoes. He literally tried to remake Space Jam and erase Michael Jordan. Come on, man. Stop trying to erase the dude. The dude is an icon.
Well,
20 years later.
For one, I'm happy that no one's killing anyone for shoes anymore.
No, I'm not saying. I'm glad that
getting killed.
No, I'm not
killed for Jordans anymore.
But the point being is that Michael
in society.
Michael Jordan was such a draw internationally.
Yeah.
That people were in awe of him. He could go anywhere. It didn't matter where he was. And people had Jordans on. They knew who he was. He was an icon. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Yeah. Nobody's out there out in the yard going, I'm LeBron. Come on. And more people were being during LeBron's run, more people were out there wearing Curry's, shoe and, shooting that 3-pointer and pretending to be Steph Curry with his little, all the little things he was doing.
Before we do an NBA preview, we need to do a who's your
I'm going to watch your little starting five.
Who's the GOAT of all time, and then
this is where I get into debate. I'll look forward to that one because I believe Magic.
Yeah.
But, but when we get the other guys and hopefully Chet's voice is going good, I'm sure he's going to bring up Larry Legend.
Yeah.
Which is very valid. I think Magic and Larry Bird, they saved the NBA.
No, I agree.
They took the NBA from tape delay finals and kind of there's nothing else on to prime time, and that's why I think these young kids need to they need to pay a lot more respect to Magic and Larry and Michael, and nobody was doing shoe deals before there was guys. You know, Michael was the shoe deal guy. Michael was the one telling people, hey, take your money. Don't take the money. Take the stock options. Take percentage of the product. He taught people how to be businessmen, and these guys are benefiting for it. They're getting paid now.
Yep.
So
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Someday down the line.
You get with Chet and Wally and get on this about that, because that'll be a good debate. But you guys up there in New England, you know, you guys got Bill Russell and Larry Bird and all these guys. So I'm sure it'll be interesting.
Oh, I mean, they're all great, but I agree with you that, you know, Magic and Bird changed the NBA in a sense. I think probably 10 years from now, we'll look at the WNBA and say that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark changed their respective sport in the same way, because they're just two polarizing figures that have.
Oh, I agree with you, and it's funny because that's such a good comparison, because you look at the WNBA up until this year, I don't think, you know, people were just like, oh, there's a women's league.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like a Y League type feel to it.
Yeah.
And then Caitlin Clark and them came in, and all of a sudden now different thought process. People are watching it. You got men watching, which is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, unfortunately, not many people are watching the WNBA finals, which happened today. I think it ended. I just let me check the headlines.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying. I mean, but you know,
deciding game 5. So the Minnesota Lynx won tonight, and I think the next game will be in New York. But the New York Liberty is one of only 3 original WNBA teams that still exist, but they're the only one that hasn't won a championship. I think the other 2, the original 3, the LA Sparks is original, one of the original teams, and Phoenix is one of the original teams. Both those 2 have won a championship. New York is not. So
yeah, you know, like I said, I'm glad that there's spotlights on them. I'm glad that, you know, the 2 young ladies. What I liked about, I wish Angel Reese would get her offensive game. You know, you got 20 rebounds, but 10 of them are from your missed shots. You know,
getting your own misses. Yeah.
I mean, but that's how bad is that for the other team? You know, they're not boxing out, or they're allowing you to get these that many rebounds. And then, you know, Caitlin Clark, she showed a lot of character in getting beat up and knocked down, and she got you know, a lot of physical, but she kept getting up and didn't complain, just kept playing. And, you know, being off the Olympic team, those 2 being left off the Olympic team was kind of a travesty. You know, you could have, because they were on fire, could have made so much money off of it, so much publicity. They didn't.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if they can keep keep stoking the fire, I think the next Olympics, you know, but, you know, they got to keep this going.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I think those two should have been on the Olympic team, because if you look at everybody that was on that roster, they're all older veterans. Like there wasn't, and I don't think that, you know, hey, we can go back to the dream team. Christian Laettner didn't deserve to be on that team, but it had something to do with continuing on the Olympic tradition for the next team. And
he was a player of the year in college, you know. And the crazy part is, even if Christian Laettner doesn't get on that team, the other rookie is Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
So if Christian Laettner doesn't get on team, because the guy that was left off for Christian Laettner was Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Well, shit, if you put Shaquille O'Neal on that team, now they're all Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
But I mean,
then also Christian Laettner got like 0 minutes, right? So
yeah, I mean, he played.
O'Neal still doesn't get those minutes, but I still think.
Yeah, but
I still think that Angel Reese, one of the 2, should have made the team.
Well, yeah, and if we put one of them on, and they even if they don't play, they're there. You know how many jerseys that are you going to sell? How many eyeballs you're going to pull if you put, and especially if you put both of them, because now people want to go, okay, well, now they're on a team together. How do they coexist?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And oh my goodness, that's a whole nother media story that you missed out on. You got so much publicity you could have gotten with that, and you just let it slip through your fingers, which is insane to me. I'm sitting there thinking you could have put them on the same team. Now everybody, can they coexist? Can they play? Can they, can they put aside whatever, and I'm with you. The whole Magic and Larry thing, that's the dynamic they got going for it, and they could have played that up. They could have, and it's unfortunate, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, they didn't. I'm not real. We've talked about that before. Like it would have been so easy for, especially the first. Again, the dynamic of the WNBA and women's college athlete or college basketball is very different, right? Like they finished the championship game, or Caitlin Clark did, and 2 weeks later she's drafted. Like
Yeah.
there was no prep time, there was no going into an NBA combine for the draft and all that. Like she went right in. Same with Angel Reese, and they were drafted 2 weeks later, and then literally a month later they're playing their first game. So like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't the WNBA literally change their schedule? For a primetime game, first game that the WNBA shows on the season is Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. Like,
I agree with you wholeheartedly. What's crazy to me too is from that perspective, you could do that, and there was so much that you could have shown, you could have done, so much opportunity that you just missed out on. And like I said, and this was an Olympic year, so now you have all the eyes on this. So you come in, you put those two girls on the same team now. Oh, here they are fighting it out in the WNBA, but now they're putting aside this to bring that medal home to America.
Yeah.
There's so many there's so many storylines in there that you could go in there and hey, look how they put aside their difference, and look how they, and or if they didn't get along, oh, look at the controversy. Guys like women like Diana Taurasi and all these girls, you've been here, you've got 3 gold medals. Move on, let it go. It's time to move on. You've been hanging around forever. Get over yourselves. All those old ladies like Cheryl Swoops, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Stop whining and complaining. You didn't put butts in seats. This girl's putting butts in seats.
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, just in that aspect, she's better than you.
Yeah, and I would also say these girls, like everyone that was drafted with her in that draft class, like there wasn't anybody that didn't watch Caitlin Clark that didn't know literally everybody that was drafted in that draft class.
Yeah. What's crazy is that girl that's she did play for New York in the Lynx, was a rookie and hit the game winner the other night.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's like these girls, this draft class is probably one of the best draft class, if not the best draft class ever for the WNBA, and the most well known. Yet you don't have any of these girls that lifted the league up and made them viable on your USA team. Come on. I'm sorry. I don't, as a coach, you need to pass the torch. The dream team was put together to send a message to the world. Okay, you beat our college kids, but now we're going to show you what we really got. And when they did that, and that's one thing. That's another thing. You sit down and you go and you sit down. You're like, come on, man. The dream team, and they knew we're going to destroy everybody. That's why Charles Barkley was the MVP of the Olympics, because Michael Jordan and them knew I could be the star easy, but it's not. Charles is an up and coming superstar. We're going to let him shine. We're going to let some of the other guys shine because we got our rings in the NBA. Magic, Larry, Mike, we got our rings. We got our notoriety. Let these other guys look good. So I just, to me, that shows the level of intelligence that they had back then versus now. So, and even with the NBA now, I think Adam Silver, he caters so much to LeBron that there's so many good young players that we never get to see.
Yeah. Because
we're always watching the Lakers. We're always watching, let's stop watching the same 3 teams. Let's put everybody else on. Let's get some of these younger guys out there and see some of these. There's a lot of talent out there and they're not getting seen because we're catering to a 40-year-old guy. That's one thing David Stern never did. He didn't care who won. He was like, I don't care who wins as long as the NBA makes money. So
Yeah, that's
So.
true. I'm trying to find the girl that you're referring to.
Oh, I can't think of her name now. I saw the highlight. It was crazy because she takes the ball, she kind of clocks mine down, she makes it, she crosses her over, comes up, hits a spot, hits a jumper, and wins the game. I think I want to say she was from New York, but
Yeah, the only rookie that I'm seeing is the Fiebich.
I think it is that. I think that's her name.
Leonie Fiebich
Yeah,
from Germany. I don't know where she played, or I don't think she played in college, but she played.
but she probably
She
played
was
overseas.
she
Yeah,
was
but I
drafted
mean,
this
but
year.
it's crazy. You got to like a lot. There's so much young talent. I think what makes leagues great and keeps leagues viable is you got to let your old guys. You got to put your old guys out to pasture.
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but you do because you need that. Shohei Ohtani brings so much excitement to the game. He's a young guy. You don't want to keep catering to the old guy. You got to bring some because you need the stars of tomorrow,
yeah,
and that's where a lot of these leagues. You look at the NBA, they're just not. They're catering to the old guys, and you got to stop. Steph, KD, and LeBron had their run. It's time to, okay, we'll put you on TV and everyone. Let's put these young guys in. The guys who are going to carry us for the next 10 years.
yeah. What's crazy about Otani is and it has something to do with the Dodgers pitching rotation as well. But they have him leading off, man. He's like the best power hitter in the major leagues, and he's leading off just so that he gets. There's a higher potential for him to have 5 at bats.
Yeah,
More plate appearances. Like that's crazy to think that. Again, not only is the team deep enough, they're good enough to put him in the leadoff spot and have somebody else bat cleanup.
yeah,
That's crazy, but I think what would even be more crazy if he actually pitches this year while
yeah.
they're in the playoffs. That would be
But
freaking
well, what's crazy is that, and I can see it. Like if they get to the World Series,
yeah,
you know, Game 6 or Game 7, and they need that middle reliever,
yeah,
they can easily just, hey, we're gonna slide you in,
yeah,
so you hold it down for a little bit, and then we're gonna put you back in the field, and just bring another pitcher in. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, not in the least. You know what I mean?
It's
So
crazy. Yeah, it's
what kind of a story would that be? That would set the baseball world into all kinds of stuff.
yeah,
But it's good for baseball. It's
absolutely.
he and these young guys, are good for baseball. They're not, you know, the Bryce Harper. Hey, yeah, you run. See, hey, we'll talk about you, but we're not. You're not front page news no more. And they've moved on from these. But that's what the other sports have done. They've moved on, and we're going to go to the next guy. I mean, you think about Patrick Mahomes. He's
Yeah,
still young. But this draft class, boy, they're already talking about him. Patrick Mahomes is not front page. He's not number one talking point every week. Now they're talking about Jalen Daniels, and they're talking about Bo Nix, and they're talking about Drake May, and they're talking about the next group of guys that are coming up behind him, which is genius for the NFL because like now, hey, we got these guys who are, hey, these are the guys who coming for your title,
yeah,
and so by a marketing standpoint, it's great for the league because it keeps people interested. Oh, by the way, Joe Burrow's still hanging around and Josh Allen's still hanging around, and you got all these young guys. And, if Justin Fields can get his act together and keep going the way he's going and growing.
Thanks for
Uh-oh,
joining
Pittsburgh
us
with
for
a
another
a
episode
solid
of
quarterback.
Til'ton the
Uh-oh.
Scales. Thanks for joining us.
There's just
Subscribe
a
to
lot
our
of-
YouTube
lots
channel
to
and
talk
like
about
and share content on
other than
social media.
Patrick
Joined
Mahomes,
by
which is
friend
great
of the
for the
show,
league.
Jose Battle. Please
So.
subscribe to
Yeah.
our YouTube channel and like
Yeah,
and
you're
share
absolutely
content
right.
on social media.